Hello YouTube, this is Kid02 here. I'm going to do another read-along. 4 read-along videos because I usually do read-alongs in 2 parts. And the reason why I say 4 is because there's 2 read-along stories to this one cassette of DuckTales. It's called DuckTales Dinosaur Ducks is first, and then DuckTales Launchpad's Daring Raid. And we'll start by, I think I'll go over. Let's get started. It doesn't have any like narrative, the voices or anything on it. So get right down into the story. The tape is in a 2XL robot. I didn't realize I had to rewind the tape. Excuse me.
This is the story of Dinosaur Ducks. You can read along with me in your book. You will know it is time to turn the page when you hear the chimes ring like this. Let's begin now. Launchpad McQuack crept through a misty forest, then stopped suddenly. He was staring at a strange creature with a big beak and bright feathers, the rare booby bird he'd been searching for. But the minute he pounced on it, he heard giant footsteps thundering behind him. He ran, clutching his trophy.
Pull it, booby birdie. I'm doing you a favor taking you to Scrooge's zoo. It's a jungle out here.
He looked over his shoulder. A huge lizard was chasing them. Launchpad scrambled up a hill and found himself hurtling through space. He had stepped off the edge of a cliff. The booby bird flapped its wings furiously, slowing their fall. When they crashed to earth, the priceless bird struggled out of his arms. Launchpad watched it fly away.
How am I going to explain this to Mr. McDuck?
When Launchpad made it back to Duckburg, he found his boss, Scrooge McDuck, in the zoo office.
Launchpad, you lost the booby bird because a lizard was chasing you?
Not any old lizard, Mr. McD. A King Kong-sized lizard.
Yahoo! Launchpad, you found the lost world that explorers have dreamed of for centuries. you discovered dinosaurs, the greatest zoo attraction ever.
The next day, Scrooge's nephews and their friend Webbigale watched Launchpad load a fancy helicopter. As Scrooge supervised, Huey turned to Dewey and Louie.
Our chance to see real dinosaurs and we're stuck here. Why don't we stow away?
When Webby started to follow, Louie stopped her.
Sorry, but the lost world is much too dangerous for a girl.
The boys ran to hide in an empty crate. Webby smiled.
I can be sneaky too.
Launchpad checked the controls, then he and Scrooge took off. After a while, Launchpad looked up from his maps.
Must be over the lost world, Mr. McD, because we're lost.
When Scrooge looked outside, he saw a giant dinosaur bird swooping down on them.
A pterodactyl! We're under attack!
I'll get him, sir. I can just figure out this panel.
Every time Launchpad pushed a button, sparks jumped out.
It's not working, Mr. McD. Prepare to crash.
Scrooge burrowed among the supplies, searching for crash helmets. Instead, he found his 3 nephews.
Blimey, bagpipes! What are you doing here?
Huey felt the chopper shake and sputter.
It's like we're crash landing with you.
Scrooge strapped the boys into the remaining passenger seat. Then Launchpad closed his eyes and pushed another button. A door slid back, and the boys were ejected from the chopper. Seconds later, a parachute popped open, and the nephews floated safely to the jungle below. As they set out to search for their uncle and Launchpad, Louie noticed something strange.
You guys, can 3 ducks have 4 shadows?
As his brothers shook their heads, Louie motioned for them to turn around.
Then I think we have company.
They stared at an enormous animal with thick legs and a duck-like face. Its huge eyes bulged out at them. The nephews took one look and raced in the other direction. Meanwhile, Launchpad was hopping out of the chopper in a valley miles away.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give that crash an 8.
Scrooge straightened his hat and glared at Launchpad.
Just get me up on that plateau before anything happens to my nephews.
No problem, Mr. McD. Next to flying, mountain climbing is my best talent.
Launchpad dug through the supplies and found his gear. He put on a rope harness and tied the other end around Scrooge's waist.
Don't worry. I'll use my professional mountain climbing equipment, and we'll be up on top in no time.
He handed Scrooge a large picnic basket, and they began scaling the cliff face. Near the top, Launchpad hit his finger with a hammer.
Ouch!
When he dropped the hammer, he lost his balance, and they both tumbled down the cliff. The rope jerked them to a stop. While dangling upside down, Scrooge glared at Launchpad.
You were right. You're nearly as good a mountain climber as you are a pilot.
The pair began struggling up the cliff face again. When they finally made it to the top, Launchpad grinned.
See, Mr. McD? I told you I'd get us up here safe and sound.
But as they set off, several sinister figures crept through the underbrush after them. Meanwhile, the boys were hiding behind a rock, waiting for the large beaked creature to return. Louie looked at his brothers.
Wow, that must have been a duck-billed dinosaur. Uncle Scrooge would sure like one of those for his zoo.
Huey pulled out his junior woodchuck guide.
That gives me an idea.
Huey and his brothers found a large hole and covered it with branches, then hid once again. Louie looked over at him.
Huey, are you sure the Junior Woodchuck's tiger trap will catch a dinosaur? I'm positive. The trap doesn't know the difference.
When they heard a crash, they went to look and found a saber-toothed tiger crawling out of the pit. As they ran, Louie scowled.
Next time, if the book says tiger trap, it means tiger trap.
After After they escaped from the tiger, the boys set another trap. Louie tied the end of a long vine into a noose.
When that dinosaur shows up to eat the food we set out, all we have to do is pull out the vine and we'll have him on a leash.
Soon they heard something approaching, and Louie jerked the vine. When Huey ran to check the trap, he found a giant creature with a long tail towering over him.
It's the most ferocious dinosaur of all, a Tyrannosaurus.
The boys fled through a gap in a nearby cliff. Louie halted.
It's a dead-end ravine. We're trapped.
Huey grabbed a stick the size of a baseball bat.
Pitch me some rocks. I'll knock this guy out of the park.
When the Tyrannosaurus appeared, Louie and Dewey pitched large rocks to Huey. He hit them right at the giant lizard, distracting it long enough for them to slip out of the ravine. Not too far away, Launchpad and Scrooge were searching for the boys.